All right, cool. So we're gonna do a quick track breakdown here of my song Lord. If you haven't heard it, I'm gonna give it a little playthrough here. Then I'm gonna kind of get into the details, show you exactly what I did, how I did it, and we'll go from there. So here it is from the top.
Let's get a few facts straight, shall we?
Yeah, and then it kind of does it. Builds again. The second drop, it's very minimal. Here's kind of the idea of it. I noticed after I released it, like the second drop, these like little chops were supposed to be lower. And then I didn't do that for any of the other ones, so I messed that up. So it should have been like the lower one for all of them. So that, not everything you release is going to be perfect. So anyway, so at the beginning, like the intro,
Let's get a few facts straight, shall we?
so that's like a vintage sample of someone talking, right?
Let's get a few facts straight, shall we?
And then basic like impacts, stuff like that, transitions, stuff like that. I use a lot of the same stuff for a lot of songs. So all of this stuff is just samples that I chopped up and edited from Splice. They're all in C minor, so I brought them up 3 semitones to D sharp. So this one here, I'll start with the drums. So the drums are the backbone of a song. So like they are easily the most important part. So this is like a very hip hop inspired song, and it's kind of faster and groovy. So it's 160 BPM. Yeah, and I do the same thing with all my drums. I group everything together and I put a little bit of compression on it with the glue compressor, just stock. I use a lot of Ableton stock and just slow attack, fast release, bring down the threshold just a touch, just so it's doing like a little gentle squeeze on it, and then I add a little bit of makeup gain there. That's about it for the drums. So basically for this part, like the melodic, so there's this sample, and I kind of chopped it up, pitched it up. And I layered that with this. Just kind of chopping stuff up, giving it that like old school hip hoppy feel. And then on the second part, I brought this back in. So all together, real full and kind of old school hip hoppy. And then I got the hip hop sub bass here. And this is it, just hip hop sub bass, these parameters, a little bit of saturation. Obviously I got the sidechain to the kick and snare on there. And how I do sidechain, so what I do, I just make a ghost track and I do a really short clip of something. Usually I use like a rim shot. And then I'll take the actual track delay and I'll put it negative 0.01. So that's registering 1/100th of 1 millisecond, I think it is, where the signal's hitting. Because basically when you do the sidechain, the attack on the compressor, I guess on this, I ended up increasing the attack. Normally, I just do all the way down. And when you do all the way down, it's 0.01. So that's still not 0. So what I do, I kind of make up for that by triggering 0.01 before the actual sound is happening. So it's like literally right on. There's 0 perceivable time where the sidechain isn't hitting, if that makes sense. I think I added some just because on the sub, you get that little clicky sound, so I think I just increased it. So that's kind of the intro, and then the transition here. Swells, bringing swells in for like every transition, right? Moving things into the next part, building energy, right? And it's just like layering stuff, so chimes, you got chimes, down lifts, risers. I like stacking up a ton of risers, you know what I mean? And then, so this starts repeating here. And then I'm kind of teasing the drop bass right here. So it's kind of washed out with a hybrid reverb, got some delay, and I'm filtering it in, right? So you're kind of teasing the drop, so it's not a huge surprise when the drop happens, right? You're kind of teasing it before the like official event occurs. And then this is just another couple samples I stacked on top of each other and just, and that's it. And then like a drum fill. And then this big, got like stadium one. So okay, so for the drop. So the drop, I actually started this. So I sell health insurance for a living. I was at my office and I started this project on my MacBook. I do that a lot. And I had this idea in my mind where I wanted to do like a kind of like 160, like head boppy, groovy, dubstep sort of thing. Kind of like that Effin style, because Effin, I've been listening to a lot of his music and he samples a lot of like old school hip hop stuff. I love that style. So that fused with like modern wavetable synthesis and stuff. It sounds really cool. So here, I'll just show you the drums. A little bit of track delay on the hats to give it that swing. And then drum fills. And it kind of picks up pace there. So basically for the drop, I actually took the samples from like the intro and everything. And this is kind of where the idea started. So it's this. So this is always going in the background right here. With these chops. Then I got this crowd noise here. So these two things, now this is huge, right? Filling up that frequency spectrum, bringing that energy for the drop. If you take the crowd noise and then this, which kind of keeps the key and the tone and it preserves that initial like intro idea, because it's that sample from the intro, right? It's just this sample. And it's bringing. But it's just pitched to the root note of the drop, which I believe is D sharp in this instance. So it's literally just keeping that. You can hear it in the back. It's not taking up command of the front of the space, but it's really driving it forward. So if you take that out and you take out the crowd noise, listen to how empty it is. It's cool and all, the drums are groovy, but like you're missing that energy when you add it back. Yeah, so it's literally just this melodic stuff here. And then the basses, we'll get into that. The basses are hilarious because they're so simple. They're like old school basses. So the initial one is just like, that's just layered on top of the melodic, which makes it sound like this. So that downbeat, here, I'll show you this. Literally this. That's it. That, which is, I'll show you the effects. It's literally just hyperdimension, distortion, compression. I can make like other videos if you guys really want. Like if you ask, and this is kind of like moderate to advanced, where if you're somewhat in the know about how to produce, you've been producing for a year or two, you probably know what I'm doing and you understand this. If you're brand new, you probably have no idea what I'm doing. So if you want to kind of get more answers on specific things, I'm happy to break that down. But track breakdowns like this, it's a little bit more advanced, I'd say. So it's that bass, and I just have amp, EQ, saturation, another amp, another EQ. And if you take all these off, so like together, they do a lot. So it's like, wait, that's the layer. So that's literally the bass. It's like the most simple bass with the effects. Gives it more grit, and then layered with this, which I'm pretty sure it's just a tuned up saw wave. Yeah, it's literally all it is. It's just saw waves with a bunch of unisons of voices. Same thing, compression, distortion, and this. So just a higher layer. And then that with like the melodic chops. That's it. And then the basic, like the da-na-na-na-na, which is like the motif of it, right? Easy bass. Easy bass. Just this. That's it. This is even this is even a preset. I'm sure I messed with it and changed it a little bit, but yeah, this is just I think I was going through and I just used this as like to write out the idea, because when when we start a beat or whatever, you might have an idea in mind, and it's like dun 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 dun. So I just typed it out, and instead of using a saw wave or a piano or whatever, I just used a preset, and I ended up keeping it. And I just added EQ, saturation, amp. Adding like amp and saturation and EQing it right, it does a lot to a sound, because like without the post processing, it's pretty thin and weak. With it, there's a lot of heavy lifting there. And then like the fills and stuff, it's just like layering different. I don't even know what this is. Just pitch down with tones is like the warping algorithm. Making stuff. It's like a little sub there. So, and then for the second part of the drop, now you can hear the energy kind of building there, and this is basically teasing in like the next part of the drop. Because for this part, so that's just like I guess it's like a sample that I pitched around, and I added all this stuff to it. So I EQ'd it, added fresh air, which is this, I think it's a free plugin. I don't recall paying for it, but it adds basically mid and high saturation to kind of fluff up the sound and make it sound bright. And then I added a kilohertz resonator to it to put it in the key of the song, which is D sharp. And then transient shaper to give it that like quick kind of percussive style to it, and then compressed room reverb, which kind of washes it out. And then I put a utility on it and drag the width down to make it more mono and centered, so it's not interfering with the other sound. So basically it's just a sample pitched up like a semitone or two, and then with all this post processing. So without it, it sounds like this. There's basically a bass sound. Yeah, and then with it, yeah. So that with the low bass, I'll show you that here. So all this is the same here, except I did So I changed it from da-na to da-na. And that's it. And then this, what is this? Yeah, so that's the big boy right there. Again, simple bass, what is it? Yeah. It's literally the same as the downbeat, it's just like a sustain. Same thing, bunch of amp saturation, tuning it right, getting like those little resonance in there to add extra tone and timbre to it. So without it, it's... And with it, makes it real girthy and beefy, baby. Yeah. So basically, this is kind of like a teaser, right? So this kind of teases up to it. That's telling you it's changing, and then you got like the risers coming in, washing it into the next part, right? So you got the risers building. Yeah, so you got that, like, where is it here? That's just a telephone EQ, so it's just like a fake out. For all that is, you just take the frequency spectrum with an EQ8 and you just put it in the center, and you're just like letting a little bit of the frequencies and like the higher mids shine through, add a little bit of like short decay reverb on it, and then it sounds like it's kind of in the distance. And then the second one, it starts building more energy, right? Because you got the siren, and then these little guys. Which all this is, what is this? Yeah, it's just a pitched around alarm sound. With some like room reverb EQ. And then all the effects in the background, like basically you feel them, you don't really hear them as much as you feel them. Like all the sweeping, you know? And then it resolves right there, right? And in this part, it's basically the same. There's only small variations that kind of separate the second part, because you don't want it exactly to repeat. You want there to be a little bit of variation. So like... So for this part, the build, it's basically the same thing, except there's like a little I've gotten pretty good at fills. So the drums for fills that I always, or the drums for builds that I do, layering stuff. Yeah, so it's like a stadium clap loop. And then you have all the melodic stuff. So that's basically washing out with a reverb and then being filtered on the group channel with a drum bus here, so that's just adding like extra transients to it. And then I'm pitching it up using the fine. And everything just kind of washes out there. Sub bass is rising. I'm washing everything out, kind of pulling out all the low end because it's kind of coming up, rising, tension, and then it releases on the drop, right? Yeah, so this is basically the same kind of idea, except for the drop. The downbeats are roughly the same thing. And then for the actual bass, it's just this. Like a sample with amp, transient shaper on it to give it real boomy. And then that thing. So this, I do this a lot. So if you listen to my song Spite Bench, so this LFO right here is modulating the cutoff of the ring mod. So without it, it's just that. So this is kind of pitching up basically. And then LFO2, or LFO2 rather, that's the level for the, so without it. But this is actually modulating the level, so it makes it sound like it's like something tapping really fast on a glass table or something like that. same with like the background here. I think this is all the same. Yeah, so the only difference here, so during the first drop, it was this. Or is that the same? Where's the first drop? Yeah, it's all the same. It's literally just this guy. The crowd noise. Keeping that energy, because without it, again, I'll take it out. It's cool, but it's super empty, man. But with it, that extra energy, man. And then you got background stuff, washouts, really just layering, man. Layering is like the biggest part of a track like this. So I think I covered basically all the basis of it. It's a big project, so I'll kind of close this all, and I'll show you like how I do my like mastering with EDM, like stuff like this. It's how do I get it loud without crunching out or squashing the sound too much. That's really all that it is. It's nothing like, it's not rocket science. I kind of know how to mix into my master, and I normally do. So I'll throw a G clip on, and I'll usually mix into a G clip. Because when it comes to dubstep, man, like this stuff, it's not pop music. When I do tracks with my brother and I'm mixing vocals, and it's hip hop, and it's a little bit more, there's more dynamics, and it's a little bit more nuanced. This is like, how do I get it as loud as I possibly can with maintaining the integrity of the transients and the drums and sound good on the low end. So kind of one of the main things that I'll reference is I'll take like a utility, which what I'm always doing is I'm putting it on bass mono, and then you can actually hear the delta. So when I hear that, if it's not crunching or distorting too bad, I know I'm kind of in business. I usually start with a multi-band compressor, just the stock preset on Ableton, put it on 30%. And then I put fresh air here on the master. So the fresh air, that's just adding like mid and high saturation. So without it, let's see if you can hear a difference. Yeah, so it brightens it up just a little bit. You don't want to do it too much, just kind of little sort of stages of adding things, right? And then I'm EQing with a mid side. Because one of the main things you want to look out for, you don't want any side information to be on like the sub. You want the sub to be the only thing in the low. Right, and then on the side, you want it to be the rest of the stuff, right? And then I'm just clipping it right into a G clip here, which I add a little bit of softness, 1.2 dB of gain, and that's about it. So like without all the stuff on the master, you should be able to hear a significant difference without it. So here's the track without a master. You can see I'm even surpassing the 0 dB there, so I'm actually clipping into red. But if I add it, it increases the perceived loudness. And it keeps it from digitally distorting. So yeah, so that's about it. I think I covered everything. If you guys have any questions, please leave a comment. I mean, I'm new to doing this streaming stuff. I really enjoy it. I think I'm going to make a habit out of it. I mean, I've been producing for almost 7 years now, so I feel that I have a lot to offer. So yeah, I mean, if you have any questions, leave me a comment. Follow me on IG, follow me on TikTok. Kind of let me know what you guys want to see next. If you want to see any other track breakdowns, anything like that, let me know. But see you guys in the next video. Peace out.